speak here. Leagues have opened up. We're going to check out sealed leagues. Just started here. 4 Oath, 2 Battle for Zendikar.
Nice.
Here are the details. They take 2,000 people.
So when you join, do you get to build your...
You start building. There's no time limit, I think.
And you get to play 5 matches over the course of so many days, I guess?
Yeah. Let's see. Can we see the...
Learn more.
Oh, wow. We get to learn.
I want to learn.
Sealed League. Okay. League closes April 11th, so you get to keep playing League, and then they pull it down the 11th to check stuff, and then it ends, and you get the League ranking. After 5 games... Okay, so it costs 28 event tickets.
Okay.
We get 4... We get a bunch of packs.
It's 6 packs and 4 event tickets, or 28 tickets.
Which isn't bad. You're playing 5
or
rounds.
280 play points.
Which is also pretty reasonable.
Each round up to 50 minutes, and you play up to 5 rounds at your convenience.
Okay.
So I'm glad they're doing this. It's very similar to the way Hearthstone does it, and I like that because I can just play a match and then leave.
So if you get 3 wins, you get a booster and 140 play points. When you consider how many packs you got back, that puts you a little bit over where you started. Like, that's pretty close to even.
And then one more match, you completely pay for the event because you get the 280 play points. And then you also get some extra stuff.
So it's cool.
So, and if you manage to go 5-0, then, I mean...
Now, you got to realize, like...
That's kind of sad because you don't really get much more for going 5-0.
Right, and in 8-4, your low-end pay is below the screen, and your high-end pay is very high. When you go to, like, a 4-3-2-2, they get closer. When you do a Swiss, they get closer. And actually, the leagues are even closer. They're somewhere around the Swiss range as far as payout goes. But it's very tempered. And that's...
I think we're... Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think we're capable of winning 3. I mean, we do pretty good at winning.
Hopefully. And I mean, the other part with this, too, is... we'll go ahead and open this up and look at it.
Oh,
but
nice.
the biggest part with it being closer is it favors you on more averages. You're more likely to go 3-2 in more games than you are to go 5-0. So that means you get to play longer and more consistently, which is what our goal is.
Which is good. Well, also, we win pretty often. I mean, we usually don't win packs because we play single elimination.
Interestingly. So the deck ends, the league ends on April 11th. We cannot trade the cards until April 11th.
I don't see how that matters with standard cards.
It's not as important, but that means the fluctuation of standard prices, you don't get to trade or worry about them until then. You can use them in your other decks. So let's say we had a standard deck and we opened 4 Thought-Knot Seers. We can use 4 Thought-Knot Seers, but we can't trade those 4 Thought-Knot Seers.
So that's pretty good. That just means at the end of the league, though, prices might fluctuate really rapidly because everybody's dumping everything.
If a lot of league play happens, you are correct.
Well, I mean, here's nearly 2,000 players in this league already.
All right, let's start with our deck build.
And we have unlimited time, I believe, right?
We in fact do. We have unlimited time, and I think we can change a lot of things in a lot of different times. Okay, so let's go ahead and sort by rares. Let's do this the normal way, but we're going to really take a lot of time and look at a lot of different options.
Yeah, we might as well because we have unlimited time.
Yep. We don't have any mythics.
That's unfortunate. The mythics were the money's head.
Right?
I believe so. I don't know if we got anything worth anything, or if it even matters, considering we won't get it until April.
2, 3, 4, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 cards. Okay, Sylvan Advocate. Smothering Abomination. Oath of Jace, which I'm not very high on. Dread Defiler. Eiley. Angelic Captain. Okay, so our rares aren't great. Rares that I think are fine are right here, solid. Rares that I'll always play is Sylvan Advocate. Like if I'm green.
Yeah, if we're playing green, we'll play it because it's a 2-3 for 2.
That's it. If I'm in the colors, I'll play any of these. I probably won't play Oath of Jace unless I have a reason to play Oath of Jace.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and resort that by color. And let's go ahead and find out the cards we like a lot.
Yeah, so I guess all the stuff we're definitely not gonna play, we can just pile up, and
step
not
up.
really look at it very much.
Yeah, let's look at our colorless cards, and we'll do the double colored cards in a second. This one that chooses to play tapped. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any important colorless cards? And the answer is we have a Bane of Belegad and a Rune Processor. Those are important colorless cards.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Worded geometries I like, but I don't know if it's important.
I don't even think it's super impressive. I think it's just acceptable.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure we're playing a pretty high curve in this, right? Because the format's pretty slow when you play sealed.
So when you play sealed, you either need to go way under or be pretty over. Okay. So
I mean, just looking at our cards, doesn't look like we can go way under. But I mean, I'm just like cursory glance here.
Yeah.
I don't see 42 drops.
All right. So there are 8 green cards I like. I think that the green cards that are above like and would be really, really good are just these 2. But the rest of these cards are fine. Pulse of Marasa is a very good spell. It gets back... It slows down stuff, and it can get back the card you need most. It's usually a later game spell, but it's fine there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind playing 1 or 2 of those, especially in sealed.
Yeah, I think it's fine to play 1 in draft and 2 in sealed often. We don't have any sort of lands to regain with it, like a fetch land, which is always nice. Not a fetch land directly, but like, you know...
or
Evolving Wilds.
Evolving Wilds, that's what I would...
Alright, so in red, cards that I think are playable. Wow, red is terrible.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, that was real easy. Okay,
Alright,
set red over to
yeah,
not
probably
playing.
not worrying about red too much.
So I will play that card and this card. Zulaport Chain Mage I'll play without being signed. Witness then is a card I'm willing to play in sealed.
No, we finally got an Oblivion Strut. That doesn't happen often.
Well, I mean, we're in sealed. I'll play the first Unnatural Endurance. Sledge Crawler's not quite as good. Neither are the Reaver Drones. Okay. So black has some playable cards. What black's really bringing to the table here is 2 pieces of good removal, a double black spell, which may or may not be playable, and a decent...
Well, not to mention it makes you sack creatures to keep it alive.
Yeah, but you draw cards off those creatures. So you'd be looking to put things like black and green together. Mm-hmm. Alright, let's see what blue has. So black is okay without being great. I'll play that.
I don't mind
play
that.
the first one.
I really like the flying guy.
I like my first counter spells. I don't mind the spell shrivel. The drone's fine. Tightening close. Okay, so blue is very also mediocre. Blinding drone is really the only reason that I really want to be here.
Well, and then the void processor stuff. If we have enough of that stuff, we can try to put it in the deck. But it's probably not good enough.
Okay, so this actually might be a lot easier. Oh, hey, you know what I like about white? It has 2 isolation zones.
That's so good.
Oh, that's okay.
I like the cohort.
Flying's okay. Okay, well that's unfortunate because there's only really 2 reasons to be playing that, and they're both double white.
Hmm.
Alright, let's look back at our rares. Our rares either want us to be in red-white, which I do not want to be in.
Yeah, both red and white were pretty shallow.
Wow, I don't want to be in any of these colors. I want to be in black-green.
Yeah. Do we want to splash white just to get the...
You know what we could do? We could be black, green, white, splashing black for the removal, and then just play mostly green with a couple black cards. So let's go ahead and
well, let's build that and see how it looks.
Hide our blue and red. They are shameful. All right.
And
so
we might want to look at a couple colors cards because
I want to play Seer's Lantern, and we have top end. Even if we don't have finishers in other colors, we have finishers in this color.
yeah. And if we happen to be able to process when that comes into play,
Yeah. Okay.
that'd be good, but it's not necessary to make that card good.
I'd rather not run... Okay, actually, I might run Seek the Wilds if we're running a lot of cards. Are you not going to let me... Nope.
Nope, doesn't like that at all. Not one bit. If you scroll over first, it might let you.
Yeah. Alright. And if we're splashing, then we get Eiley and Grove Tinder Druids available in this pool.
Yep.
Okay. Now, let's see. The black cards I'd rather not play. Let's go ahead and cut them. Actually, I might end up playing the Cutthroat. We could be in a position where sacrificing creatures is good. In which case, Zulaport Cutthroat is playable, if not great. Okay, so I could see us building some deck. Let's kind of put this deck together here in the middle and then drag it down. We're just playing. Actually, we need to see if we have a lot of color sources. I think we only have
one waste and is the gorge tap for colorless?
Nope.
Does the looming spires?
Nothing else does.
Oh man.
All right, so it'll probably just be the Seer's Lantern, which is fine. I don't actually think we have cards with a black ability, other than Havoc Sower, which we can keep or get rid of. And we'll check on Zulaport. We have Kozilek's Channeler. All right. I don't mind Brood Hunter Worm in sealed. I actually think it's totally acceptable. And then the white cards I like here. Okay. So let's see what this deck is. We're going to... Oh, golly. You going to let me just take all of these cards down here?
Slowly.
Okay. Alright, so let's double check to make sure we're not missing anything. I'm kind of sad we're not playing red, white, green, that it's not there, because these cards all go together very well.
Yep.
So we might look at that and see if that deck actually can come together. Like maybe it's fast enough to be good. Alright. Sort by converted mana cost. Alright, so it's 31 cards, which is obviously more than we need. So let's start cutting the cards I'd like to not play. Let's count our removal. See if we can not play Bone Splinters. I think we have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could run Bone Splinters. We could also not. So let's just throw it up here for now.
Well, especially since we're still running the rare that makes us sack for.
Right. We don't have any particularly important cards, so a natural endurance is less good. Probably don't need 2 Pulse of Marasas in this deck.
Nope.
Alright. We need to clear up some 4-drops, so let's look at our 4-drop. Let's move our non-spells, our non-creatures down. Alright. Havoc Sower, I'm on the edge. Let's get rid of our... Let's move our non-creature spells down here. Now, I do like the first Pulse. It does do a lot of work. Ooh, and we don't have a lot of 3-drops. So being able to trade a 2-drop and have a... Now, see, Seer's Lantern is a card I'm fine playing on 3, though. Alright. Cards for the chopping block. Step A. Glider. How many cards do we have that have 1/1 counters? I count... none. So do I want a vanilla 2/4 flying vigilance? Probably not.
Nope.
You can definitely pull it in when you want more like flying defense. But we've got 1 ally, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a pretty good amount.
That's pretty decent.
And we've got...
There might be some that we didn't get that were worth playing.
3, 4, 5 allies that care about ally effects. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. And we can look and see if we neglected some because they're not optimal.
There's no green ones. I'm pretty sure there's some white ones. There's no black ones. No, there's no more allies.
Oh, wow.
But there are more good sideboard options in white, which is, you know, another nice thing. Alright, let's see. We probably should want to cut some more 4-drops. So let's look at the 4-drop cutting block. We've got Brood Hunter, Havoc Sower, Eyeless Watcher. Alright, so let's talk about the reasons to play these and make a cut on 1 or 2 of these. Havoc Sower plays well with Titan's Presence, which we may or may not end up playing. Just depends on how many color sources we have significant. We have definitely 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you think 4 is enough to run a spell? I'm not sure it is.
4 colorless creatures?
4 colorless creatures with 4 more power.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's enough. It probably isn't. So let's cut Titan's Presence, which makes me want to cut Havoc Sower, since we only have 2 ways to pump him. And we have 2 others. Actually, there's 2 cards on the 4-drop cutting block, but we could just cut both. Colorless doesn't have to be a thing about our deck.
Yeah, and then we probably need 1 more cut.
Maybe. We could cut one of our 7-drops. I'm not convinced we need a...
The only thing is we'll probably get to 7.
Right, but we might not want to start with that many 7 drops.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, you know.
Well, so how
We
good
could.
are each one of them? Let's see which one's the worst.
We could also cut another 4 drop, but I like... Our curve's a little funny. Let's look at permanence, because this is actually how it'll play a little bit more out.
Well, also, if you look, we've got very few green cards, and one of them's double green. But it's very good.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
And then we've got, what, 8 or 7 black cards. I think we just didn't get a really...
We could cut... I think Dread Defiler is actually the worst of the 3. Rune Processor, let's see, how many exile effects do we have? Witness the End, Oblivion Strike, Complete Disregard, so 4 or 5. We have 5 in just our removal. And, I don't think I'll really count Eiley. She can, but it's unlikely. 5 in our removal plus our banning of Bounty. So, these 2 guys are pretty solid. Like, they will almost always go off.
Now,
I could
the
see
other
cutting the
thing
Dread
is I
Defiler.
really don't like our split of colors, but there's nothing we can do about it. Because we've got about equal of each color. No fixing.
We could run less black and just let Smothering Abomination be a later play. It just depends on what we need early. I think that the color we need least early is actually green, so I think green is the lightest color we run.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Green and white are the secondary colors and your primary black. With this deck, we'll look at some more in a minute. So I think my last cut is either a 7-drop or the Brood Hunter Worm, which are both fine. I know it looks kind of heavy with all of these 7s, but with the amount of removal we have, it's not necessarily the hardest thing to lock down the board. We've got a lot of high toughness creatures. Actually, I don't know if I even like the Zulaport Cutthroat that much.
Not really.
What's it really doing here? Oh, it's being an ally.
Yeah, aside from being an ally.
What other ways am I sacrificing? Oh, it just dies. Well, that actually might be good enough. I also just don't like cutting 2 drops.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now we have the spell up there at the top that makes us gain life. I think it's that way. If you scroll.
Another Pulsive Marasa? You're talking about
The Dazzling Reflection. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I hope not, because I'm not playing it.
It's like a really terrible combat trick.
Yes, Dazzling Reflection.
Against,
Okay, we could not run Zulaport Cutthroat and run Feldar Club. It's going to be better on average, being a 2-2. Removing enchantments is reasonable. But the ally and draining part can also be extremely important as well. It just depends on which way we go. Having Smothering Abomination and the Scions is a nice little way, and the Grove Tinder Druids to kind of have a way to grind out the game longer. Actually, in fact, running Zulaport Cutthroat makes me want to run Eyeless Watcher. Maybe I'd rather have Eyeless Watcher than Brood Hunter Worm just because it's more bodies. Even though it's less power. It's more resilient to something like removal. It'll make the games go longer on average, so maybe it is better.
No, that might be true. Also, I don't like double green for Seed Guardian.
It's fine.
Even though it's such a powerful card.
Seed Guardian, even like I mentioned, it's a 6-mana card, and it's 6 mana 3/4 reach. When it dies, you get an XX. Like, that's fine. And I feel like the game's going to go long often enough that we'll be happy to have it without being excited.
Okay.
Maybe we bring in... Let's see, what are we taking out then? We've got to definitely find at
we
least one
need
cut,
one
possibly
cut.
2. One cut, possibly 2.
I think as long as we're playing the Lantern, we can go with winning. 17 lands.
Yeah, I like the Translator. It's nice in the middle. We could look to cut Pulse of Marasa or Witness the End. They are nice card advantage models, but they might not be essential. I do like how Pulse of Marasa slows down the game. I like how Witness the End kind of gets us ahead to get rid of their stuff. Obviously the 4 artifacts, or the 4 removal spells we don't want to get rid of at all. I don't know, are we really committed to running this many 7-drops?
No, I think we should probably cut a 7-drop.
Then we should cut the Dread Defiler.
Alright, so cut the Dread Defiler, and then pull it up so we just see the deck, and we'll take a picture of it real quick, and then we can build a different deck.
Click, click. Snap with Brad. Oh, that's cool.
Yep. So now we just minimize that. And now you just build a different deck, and then we'll have the other one saved.
Alright.
And we can look at them side by side.
Sounds good to me. Let's go ahead and put this up here. And get this up here. And then we'll resort by color. Okay. So, let's look at the Naya Beatdown deck. I don't know if this is viable. It is a deck that stood out to me just seeing the cards initially. We'll have to see if it's gonna work. The Naya Beatdown deck is obviously just looking to win the game quickly by beating our opponents to death. If we had better mana, I would have actually been more excited to pick this up, but we only have one good piece of mana fixing. We do have Illuminating Spires, which is a card I'm happy to run in this deck. I think that the big downfall to this deck, and the reason we're ultimately not going to be able to run it, is due to the mana base, though. So look at this deck. Look how nice that curve looks.
Oh, look, it's exactly 23 cards.
Yeah. So the deck kind of builds itself. We are having to run something like Expedite, which isn't necessarily great. It's fine with Boulder Salvo without being awesome. We're not really running a lot of superfluous cards. Basically 2 combat tricks, 3 pieces of removal. Like, it looks like a really good deck until I go to put the mana in it.
Yeah, and then it's just a bunch of basics.
Right, and then, well, it's not just basics. Let's actually pull up the mana. Like, we could run this deck. And I like this deck in some ways because it's faster and it can put on a lot of pressure. But, like, what we're really missing that I really would want in this deck is the keyword, not support. Yeah, support. Like, where's the support? You know, it's like we don't have that much. We have some allies. We have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ally payoff cards, which is the same amount as the other deck. Angelic Captain will win us the game so that it doesn't get stopped. You know, so you can just swing and it gets pretty big. But there's not ways to put counters on stuff again, which is making Steppe Binder just, you know, Steppe Glider just not that good.
Mm-hmm.
And the curve is a lot better.
Yeah, if we get the right mix of mana.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah, that's what we're basically on. Is this deck would require us to mulligan a little bit better, and it would put on pressure better. Now the good part is I will side into this deck. If we're playing someone that got better late game threats than our deck, then hey man, bring it on. I'll play nice and low and lean. It's just a little awkward. And if you're playing against, you know, somebody with a lot of 1 toughness things, you have their options. You can pull in your Plummets, your Crumble to die, or sorry, your Spark Mage's Gambit. Like, maybe we run Spark Mage's Gambit. Maybe you just run Spark Mage's Gambit instead of Expedite, because that stops 2 blockers.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, you have tricks. You've got 2 combat tricks, 3 good pieces of removal, 2 ways to stop blockers. So, like, you know, can you push through the damage? Yes. Is the mana good? Nope. So that's where I'm at on this one. Let's go ahead and take a picture of this one. I could see us starting it. I don't know. A really legitimate point is that the mana in this deck is only slightly worse than the mana in the other deck. But I feel like this deck suffers a lot more when you go slower. Right? A slow draw for the black-blue or the black-green-white deck isn't as detrimental because your spells are naturally powerful as opposed to this deck where if the game goes too long you're just going to lose, right?
That's true. I guess we can look at the blue deck, see what to pair it with. It's not very good, I don't think.
Okay, well it's got Void Grafter. I know it wants to run Void Grafter, right?
And the Jar Isle Avenger, like that guy.
So let's look at what blue is really offering us here. I think we can run Murkshire. We have a lot of exile. Do not want to have to run the Entangler. Maybe it's
whatever our deepest color is to go along with it.
probably black. You could run blue, black, white. I mean, then the question is, why are you running blue instead of green, though?
That's a good point.
So then maybe we just look at blue, green, black, which is offering blue, green, black is offering the same thing as blue, green, white, but the difference is we get like one creature with flying.
Yep, looks like it.
Like what blue is really offering me here
It's got
two
more
counter
3
spells.
drops than it's got than the other deck.
Sure, but then I don't want to run Void Shatter.
Throw it back then.
I mean, it's fine later, but it's not great as a 3-drop, and then I don't want to run this, and I don't want to run this. It's got Blinding Drone. But the problem is we don't have ways to activate Blinding Drone.
That's true.
Like, we would end up blue, green, black. I know what the deck would look like. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. It's basically the colorless deck.
Yeah, but we don't have the colorless support either. We open one waste that's really uncommon.
Well, we have 3 cards that work with it. Alright, I think we run Unnatural Endurance in that deck, and Bone Splinters. I think we actually do run some of these cards over here. You run the Titan's Presence, the Warden, probably Pathfinder. Then I said green was the other color?
Or white.
You can just
Either
not
way.
run green. You can just run blue-black with like this kind of stuff. You essentially have Seer's Lantern, Kozilek's Translator. What other color sources do you have? You have the actual Wastes, Warden, and Cultivator. So you have 5 sources of colors. Like the advantage of this deck is it's the colorless deck.
Now the other problem is there's only 13 creatures in this deck. So that's not very good.
And the real, well, I think you take out the Unnatural Endurance.
There's still only 13 creatures.
I think this is what the deck looks like. Is the rest of it like removal?
Um,
I could be convinced to run this.
some of it is removal.
Holy moly.
Yeah. I mean, 13 creatures is kind of hard to win with, in my opinion. Now, they're all good. They're all good creatures.
You want to up the creatures, you can increase it by 1 for sure. Pretty sure we have a second Kozilek's Pathfinder, which we probably run.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks something like this. You obviously don't have to cut the Titan's Presence because it works with all of your creatures.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can cut the Smothering Abomination, but it lets you trade like an old Merch Strider for 8 damage. But a lot of your other creatures are big. You get to draw a card off of it. It cycles essentially at the worst, and at the best it does a lot more. You could cut something like a Slip Through Space, which, sure, you know, like
Yeah, I mean,
this is this deck. There are big advantages. I mean, maybe this is the right deck to play. It has the best mana, right? Let's see.
it does have the best mana.
Do we just want to have the best mana?
We got Mortuary Mire, and we've got...
Skyline Cascade, which I don't want to
And
play
then we've
either.
got a Waste.
Yeah, and you just run the Wastes and other lands, and it's fine.
Yeah,
Without
I mean, we
being
could put the Cohort in there.
Why?
Yeah, I guess there's nothing to really go with it.
Nope.
It's just, I don't know, 14 creatures is a little light, but maybe you can get there.
Alright, well, let's put temporary removal, permanent removal, counter spells. I mean, it has as much removal as the other deck. It has 5 pieces of removal, 2 counter spells, which counter spells are better in sealed, so they're fine. Don't think of them as a bad card. Think of them as neutral cards. They're better than Sweep Away. So Sweep Away is probably the worst card in this deck. The things I don't like about this deck is that I have a bunch of reactive spells, and I don't have a lot of 3-drops, like 3-drops that you're going to play consistently right there.
Yeah.
Like, you're just hoping they play a creature, because almost everything you're playing on turn 3 is just, like, answering a creature, which is fine. It's just, it can't capitalize on a slow hand. Like, if our opponent does something, you can't punish them well.
Mm-hmm.
Which may or may not be a big deal. For exile effects,
And so there's a lot of times where we may not play a creature until turn
1,
5 either.
2,
So that's not good.
4, Well, yeah, we have 4 drops. It's not too bad. 5.
Yeah, but
6.
so of our
7. There's a lot of ways to exile cards.
creatures, though, only 6 of them can be played with 4 mana.
Oh yeah.
So that's a little weak.
You're definitely on having to play the 3 drops over here. Like, these are the 3 drops that are going to be being played often into your opponent's creatures. Like, your opponent's going to play some sort of creature, and you more often than not will either have tapped out for a Seer's Lantern, which is fine without being great, or you're just going to Titan's Present, Spell Shrivel, Complete Disregard. You're going to try to kill it.
Yeah, you're going to try to kill it. So I don't know if this is the best deck.
I don't know either. Let's go ahead and take a picture of it. It's better than I thought it was going to be.
It is better than I thought it was going to be. And I guess this is the good thing that we have the time to explore this deck when we wouldn't normally have time to explore this deck. Because we would have normally said, that's probably not something I want to run, and discarded it.
It's true. We get more time to look through our seal pools. Alright, let's see if there's anything else, and then we will look at those decks and kind of talk about the merits of each one. Alright, are there any other decks that we think are buildable? Alright, so we can look at more red, like red and blue. I don't think that really works. There's not
don't
really.
think there's enough cards that are good.
Is there a deck with Pyromancer's Assault? Let's look at a Pyromancer's Assault deck. I don't think there is.
I don't know what a deck like that would look like.
Probably has a second Pyromancer's Assault. It's basically a Surge deck. It has a bunch of cheap cards. We have some of the enablers, but I just don't think we have enough pieces. We don't. Yeah.
Alright, so that didn't work.
Nope.
I don't know if there is another deck. I would like to get a deck that's 2-color.
We had one.
Oh, okay. We had
Okay,
a
there
control
is
deck
an-
with 13 creatures.
There is another one. We can look at the black-green deck.
I hate to ignore those isolation zones, though. Is there a deck we could do with white and some other color?
White-black? Sure. We can look at white-black before we look at white-green. Or green-black.
Because it definitely seems like the isolation zone should be played.
So you just want to play removal dot deck.
Well, I mean, always, but at the same time, the isolation zone is one of the best things about sealed, I think.
I agree.
Because they're going to be playing powerful things, and you got a removal that nobody usually main boards for. Right? There's no creature that just incidentally kills an enchantment, is there?
Yeah, there's the 2/2.
Did we get one?
Yeah, we have one. There's a white common.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Let's start by converting mana cost, actually. Alright. Let's go ahead and pull in. Now, I pulled in a lot of cards here. A lot of these cards are not good.
Oh, yeah.
But I pulled them all in just to make sure. We have no 3-drops.
No 3-drops that are creatures. That's impressive.
Alright. So I think we're also going to have a light amount of creatures here.
So right now we've got 19, but some of those I would cut.
This is a
So
weird deck. Let's count the removal. That's what this this combination's bringing us, the removals. Alright, I probably do not want to run Seeing Light.
probably don't want to learn Bone Splitters either. Actually, you've got a lot of terrible creatures to sack to it.
We're going to cut terrible creatures. I'm going to cut the end. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have as much removal here as we do in blue.
But in 2 colors.
In 2 colors. The advantage to this is that the removal is better. Isolation Zone is better than the other color cards. Oh, wait. Yeah, the disadvantage to this is that we have double white cards, but we don't actually have that many double black cards, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible at all.
Don't know if we run Sludge Crawler. Well, so let's start cutting the things we don't want to keep in here. Are there any creatures I care about keeping alive? And the answer is not particularly, so I don't know if...
Well, that means sacking a creature to kill a creature is probably better.
Yeah.
Though we do need to make more cuts, so let's look at the creatures that are just bad. Like that one. Cut that one.
Right, we'll keep the allies. Do we have anything that actually pays us off for allies? We have 2 ally payoffs. Steppe Glider, once again, exists in a place where we have no counters. It's just a 2/4 flyer for 5 with flying and vigilance, which is fine. We could actually play a glider over a Kozilek's Path, which might be the correct thing to do, actually. This deck, we don't have to play 2 Kozilek's Pathfinders. I'd rather play 2 5-drops and a 6-drop than 2. What do you think? Would you rather just have 2 6-mana 5/5s?
Probably.
And a 5-mana 2/4? Hard to say. Alright, so, you know, there's stuff going on with this deck. This is probably what it looks like. Rough about. You can make it a little bit more defensive. You can run Stonehaven Medic over the Feldar Club if you really want to, you know. You're not getting a payoff for allies. You have 1 card that drains, 1 card that taps, which is nice, but it's nice without being great.
Yeah, the 2-drops are pretty weak in this one.
Yeah, but there's plenty of them. You know, the fact that there's not 3-drops is kind of a problem, but there's enough 2-drops that you'll probably just usually play 2. Less stuff to do on 3 overall. Since there's so many more colored cards, Titan's Presence is worse, but it's still very playable with this many big cards. So your curve looks more like this. We just have to put a gap in here. Like, you can't imagine these as 3-drops.
Yep.
So, like, you know, you can just put these over here and be like, oh, look, there's my 3-drops.
Yep.
And that's... So, I don't know if you like this better, but we'll take a picture
I
of it.
definitely don't like this better.
Man, come on over here, guys. The curve's a little clunky, but I think if we have a lot of must-kill people... Remember, every single match we can change the deck to whatever we think the deck best needs to fight them. If we're playing somebody and they've just got all these sweet creatures that aren't answered by smaller removal, and that's the deck we take, maybe we just side into the, you know, Titan's Presence, Oblivion Strike, Isolation Zone deck and be like, you know what? Forget it. I'll just exile all of your cards. I've got 5 spells ready to exile your cards right now. And a tapper.
We get 4 of those, though, playing the deck we built earlier.
Some of them just keep them in play. So, like, you know, maybe our opponent has a card that we need to get off the board. Maybe we're playing against the black-white deck, and we need to get their important pieces off the board. This is probably the best deck for it. Because the blue deck doesn't always kill their stuff. Some of the
green deck basically plays all the best pieces of this with green creatures.
Yeah, it's a little less consistent.
It's less consistent.
If we're playing against the black-white deck and they've just got, you know, some really good cards that we really have to get off the board early, or maybe it's not black-white. Whatever deck it is, whatever deck needs us to definitely consistently kill some cards, this is probably the best one to definitely kill some cards. It's also not very threatening overall. Like,
nope.
All of you're basically just leaning very heavily
on getting to 6-7 mana.
Which is fine. I mean, when you have this many good removal spells, it's fine. The thing I just don't like about it as much is that it doesn't have a way to stop, like, their spells. Like, that's the attractive part about the blue-black deck, is that it has counter spells, and, you know, sometimes they win the game not through a creature. Sometimes they're going to kill you with Rolling Thunder. Right, so let's go ahead and save this deck, and then I think that makes it for decks. Red's just not good enough to be anything on its own. Really, the only... Alright. And I think you had one more minimized. Oh, you're doing it now. Never mind.
Alright. So now we have these 3 decks.
Hi.
With not letting me open more than... There we go.
Didn't we have 4 decks?
Yeah. There's the 4.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Alright. So you can drag these 3 over here and this one.
Goodbye, water. Alright, so let's look at the different decks. And we'll put these away. And put it back together. I'm almost certain we're not playing the black-white deck as our main one. So let's kind of process of elimination it. Okay, so the black-white deck... Oh, wait. missing? Oh, I know what we're missing. Not that. This. Okay, so the black-white deck is, I think, the deck we sideboard into if we need just removal. The thing I don't like about it, the curve's a little funky, and there's not a lot of payoff on it. The payoff basically is you get a more consistent Spawnbinder Mage.
Yep.
A more consistent sort of ally activation overall for the small allies, but we're running weaker cards with more consistency. The deck I would be more likely to play over the black-white one is the blue-black one, which is actually the deck I thought was going to be the worst, but for me, in many ways, I think it might be the front-runner. I'm not sure. So the things I like about the blue-black deck. Blinding Drone is an additional piece of removal. Merc Strider is a good way to get tempo. Havoc Sower is a legitimate threat in this deck. Smothering Abomination is not very good in this deck overall. A lot of the fact we're running it is that it can maybe eat something like a Warden or Merc Strider that's already done work and get us more cards. But we have very few creatures. So we'll often sacrifice the Smothering Abomination to itself later, but it can stop our opponent from attacking if they're going to kill us in the air. We can use our ground creatures that we don't need to draw cards, hopefully get an answer. We have lots of answers. And you know, find ways to get through. But also, more importantly, too, it makes Titan's Presence a better card, which, when you're running Titan's Presence in this deck, it's basically, do you have a creature in hand? If yes, you're good. You know, we run the Jawar Island Avenger, which is not great. And neither is the Warden of Geometries. They're just fine, but they're fine enough.
One thing we didn't explore is maybe putting green in this deck over the white. The thing I don't like with that is white has such good removal in the two.
Right. And we'll go to the next one.
So this is
the first deck we made. Right here, the green, white, black one. Now, if you can imagine the blue cards in here instead, the problem is a lot of the blue cards either are double blue or care about color synergy. So we can actually compare those two decks and see roughly. Don't become giant. I don't want that. Meh. Okay, I'm going to use this bottom thing. Here we go. Yep. Alright, so cards that are good that don't care about colorless in blue. We have Tightening Coils. Blinding Drone, colorless. Cultivator, colorless. Merc Strider, colorless. Oracle, okay, colorless. Jawar Avenger, not good. Sweep Away, not good. Void Shatter, heavy blue, plays better with colorless. Tightening Coils, good in any deck. Spell Shrivel, kills about Exile. So, like, the blue cards we have are just the cards that want us to play colorless effects.
Yep.
And they all come together to be a pretty good deck, you know.
Not really as many creatures as I'd like to play, though.
The other thing I like is that Dread Defiler is very good in this deck because we have the Pathfinder, so if we go Pathfinder, it gets killed. Pathfinder, it gets killed. Rune Processor, we gain some life, we kind of stabilize, it gets killed. Dread Defiler, well, we just have them dead, probably. We have 17 loss of life just out of the graveyard from those three creatures.
That's true. And
that's if they're killing 5/5s and 6/6s. Alright, so let's look at the let's look at the green-white one. Let's really talk about this one. I think that this is the most powerful deck. I'm not sure what the mana looks like.
Mana is going to look bad. Real bad.
The mana is probably black, then white, then green. So
that seems to be correct.
You're running 17 lands, which means you're running 8, 6, 6. That's not right. That's 20 lands. Ooh. I don't think it's doable with the mana.
Yeah,
like, you're in the Devil's Mana Base. You're in like 6/6/6 land, and that is not a good thing.
Nope.
Because
not very good.
The mana is just too inconsistent, and we have double black cards, which is that important. Double green card, which is okay. Double white card that we really want to cast.
Yeah, so maybe we should go ahead and cut a color and either go with our blue deck or our white-black deck.
Yeah. So the thing about the green-black deck, the reason it really show it, is that green just has a few nice cards in it without being overly powerful.
And black has a few nice cards in it without being... Yeah.
Sylvan Advocate and Seed Garden are really the only reason to play green.
So it looks like we're going to have to cut it down to a two-color deck and lose out on a lot of the good green creatures, basically. Which, there aren't that many of them.
There's two. Summoner Scion and Grove Tender and Eyeless Watch are all very good with Smothering Abomination. This
Yeah.
is the deck.
And I like Seed Garden as a top end.
Yeah. This is the deck where if our opponent plays a lot of removal and it's going to go long, I'm going to play this deck over the blue-black deck. And the reason is, if it's my opponent's going to counter and kill everything I'm going to play, we're going to lose with the blue-black deck. It's going to run out of threats, probably. They're going to kind of grind us out.
Yep.
This deck has threats. You've got to kill Sylvan Advocate. You've got to kill Isla. You've got to kill Zulaport Cutthroat. You know, you've got to kill a Chain Mage. You got to kill a Smothering Abominations. You got to kill a Grove Tender Druids. You got to kill a Seed Drive. You got to kill all of these cards at different costs. And it has a good amount of removal.
Alright, so did we build a just pure white-black deck? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah, we did. It's this one.
So do you like the white-black one over the...
So the white-black one had more creatures, and that's the only thing I like over the blue-black one, I think it was.
Yeah, that's true.
It had more creatures, and that's just more things that they have to deal with.
Well, let's be honest. How many of these creatures do they really have to deal with?
Really only the 4 drops and above.
Not even all of them. Do you have to deal with the Warden of Geometries?
I mean, it is a 4/4. No, it's a 2/3.
Yeah.
It gets us to our higher drops. You don't really have to deal with it.
You know, I mean, you have to deal with Smothering Abomination. You don't really have to deal with, say, Havoc Sower in this deck. It's just a 3/3. I mean, you do, but it's very easy to deal with a 3/3. You know, like, you've got to really deal with 5 cards in this deck. 6 if you include the Smothering Abomination.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this deck, you know, we have...
What?
It's just...
Screen tearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen.
This deck also only has the same 5 cards you have to answer. And a 3/3 flyer, which is nice. It just has more ways to get there. I mean, the downside of this deck is that it doesn't have a ton of low-end impact. But how many fast decks are we going to play?
I don't know.
Probably, hopefully not too many. Alright, let's pull up the Allies deck that we declined. Yeah. I think that this deck suffers the same problem as the other 3-color deck we had, in that your mana base... The mana base here is a little bit better. Timber Gorge goes a long way. Now you're running like 6/6/8, which I could see. I could see running 8 white sources and 6 green and red sources, and it being okay-ish. If we're playing a deck that just has too much stuff to answer and there's no way that we can beat it without answers.
If you just get the wrong mana, you're just not playing anything.
Yeah.
That's the problem with all the 3-color decks with no fixing, or basically no fixing.
Right, so this has one piece of fix. It's just not enough. But we will side into this deck against the Pearson that has the sweet, sweet nut deck that you just can't beat. That the longer the game goes, the more you're going to lose as they play their, you know, double Gideon... double Chandra deck or whatever. Like, you're just like, oh, well, if the game goes long, I'm definitely going to lose.
I think the best part about playing any of these decks, though, is we only have to play 5 rounds, and we can play them anytime we want.
Right.
Because this deck it's just a really bad pool. I mean,
the one thing I will say going for this pool, like, the problem with diverse pools is that means you don't have one really strong deck. The advantage to diverse pools is that we have 4 decks to choose from for games 2 and 3.
If you can side them fast enough, right? If you can move the cards.
I'm sure I can move the cards in 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's not a problem. Especially since we have references for all of them. You know, and having that flexibility, like, someone was mentioning on a thread I was reading, hey, do I need to worry about my opponents completely changing decks after sideboards? The answer is, not usually. Because think about the sealed pools we've played. How often do we have more than 2 decks? Not often.
No.
And usually, it's like one deck that's we're starting, and another deck that you're like, well, if this thing happens, we'll play
Which it never does.
Right. But with the decks we're playing, they're close enough. Like, I think we're starting blue-black.
Think so?
Did you like something better than blue-black?
I like the one with more creatures back. The white-black one.
Okay.
But the creatures are worse. So I can understand why you'd want to play just better creatures.
And it's not just the better creatures. I think for me, yeah.
Just close the ones that we're not looking at anymore.
Yeah. That sounds better. Here, I'll just drag this over here. They're right next to each other. Simple for me. Alright. The reason I like this more is that the cards have more synergy. They're more powerful together. This deck as a whole, even though it is a little slower, is more powerful than this deck as a whole. Even though this deck has 2 isolation zones. Because what is white giving us other than 2 isolation zones, a tapper, and a death touch?
That's it.
It's giving us 4 cards. And they are very good 4 cards. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, all of our colors suffer from that problem, though. What's blue giving us other than a couple of decent creatures and
Yeah, blue is giving us a blinding drone,
which is actually colorless giving us that.
Right. Well, blue is colorless. That's why it's good here and nowhere else. So let's say blue, which is also blue colorless. It's giving us a blinding drone. It's giving us a tightening coils. It's giving us 2 okay counterspells, which are neither good nor bad. A cultivator drone, which is acceleration, which I think is an actively good card. A Merch Strider, which is good in this build, oddly enough, and an Oracle. So
it's giving us a lot more synergy than it really is powerful cards.
Yeah.
Now, I really don't like playing 14 creatures. That just doesn't... it doesn't feel like enough, but they're solid creatures, so I'm okay with it this time.
So let's look at how many cards that have to be answered. Havoc Sower has to be answered in this deck. There's enough color sources that this can be very easy. There are 6 color sources.
And if we can continue eating creatures with Abomination, it has to be answered.
Abomination is the worst in this deck. So I don't know if it's even necessarily a super big threat. They do have to answer it though.
And if we're lucky, they'll spend a really premium spell to answer it.
I would. It's fair to say if I see a Smothering Abomination, I assume that there will be some amount of creatures played.
Yeah.
The problem is actually there's only like 2 cards I want to sacrifice to a Smothering Abomination. It's just Merch Strider and Warden.
Oh, yeah.
But, we can be in a situation where later we draw Smothering Abomination and the ground stall all becomes great. And, I mean, how good is a Kozilek's Pathfinder if it can't swing through their 5/5s? It's not any good. There's plenty of times.
Hopefully we'd be able to generate enough colorless that it could just get through.
I mean, ideally.
All your creatures can't block. We're going to hit you in the face now.
Right? But, that's 1 or 2, and then Juar Avenger is fine without being a super threatening card.
Yeah, so I agree. I like this deck the best. Let's build it.
Alright.
Let's do the thing.
If you build it, we will lose.
Probably. Alright, so Daniel put that over there for reference. And threw together the deck without using his reference.
I know all things. We could run Oath of Jace if we want more ways to kind of filter the cards we want.
That would let us cut Smothering Abomination, but
I'd rather not spell creatures.
Yeah, I don't really want to cut creatures.
I think we're fine as
I think we would just stick with it. I mean, we could cut Sweep away just because it's a tempo card, and play something that just draws us cards.
Well, when you put it on top of their deck, it does draw you a card. You draw a random card; they draw a for sure card.
Yeah. I like playing colorless because I think the colorless creatures are the most powerful.
We can also consider
the waste in this one.
Yeah, we will. Alright, so I think we just run... Was it 8 and 8? No. Well, it probably should
recommends.
It should probably... Oh God. At basic lands. Yeah. If we weren't running the waste, then we would be running one more.
No, you don't want to play the Skyline or the Mortuary Mire?
Skyline's gonna tap down something else, and it doesn't untap next step, which is nice.
Well, so I don't think that it's gonna matter much. Step 2 comes into play tap lands. Do you think it will?
2 is a couple. Do you think you'd rather have Skyline Cascade or Mortuary Mire? I think
Mortuary Mire gets back a creature, right?
Puts it on top of your library.
Puts it on top of. I think I'd rather have Skyline.
That's where I'm at too. Yeah.
So I mean, it would be nice to get one of our creatures back because we don't have as many as I'd particularly like. But
yeah, but I mean, the thing I don't like about Mortuary Mire
is we gotta draw it.
So I find myself very rarely using the ability.
If you draw it in the first couple turns, then their card really matters. We just play it as a land.
Let's count the cards I'd like to put back on top of my deck. 1, 2...
Any of the big stuff, right?
3, yeah.
So
4...
Any of the 6 and above drops.
7, okay. That's more than I would normally put into my deck.
Yeah.
My normal problem with Mortuary Mire is there's not enough cards I want to put back.
Just throw Swamp out. Yeah, and so 2 lands that come to play tapped, they're not going to slow us down very often. Now, I'm sure, seeing as how our luck is so terrible, we'll draw it when we need to hit that 5th land untapped. But
I don't think this looks terrible. I mean, it looks like it's going to get to the long game and then play a bunch of threats that are not super big bombs, but all do need to be answered. Like, will we lose games to people who have better bombs than us? Yes. I'm actually not hoping on quality of our bombs, but just the quantity. Just having 5 big cards to be like, please answer all of these cards.
Yep.
Well,
and we play one, stall the board until we can play another one, and then start swinging with the first one.
Right, and the fact that we have the tightening coils, the blinding drone,
all stuff that'll turn off an Eldrazi, right?
Most
Titan's Presence, tightening coils, and our unconditional removal black spell will all take out.
All 6 of these cards are solid pieces to answer big threats,
which is impressive.
It's one of the reasons I like this color combination.
All right, what happens when we hit save?
Save deck.
Does that let us play?
Oh no, we just click play. So I'm going to check my phone real quick, and we're going to relist this as our first match. So we'll see you guys in just 1 second.